Silver is trying to go again. It keeps finding support on the rising 10 and 20. And it still looks, you know, it's breaking out on a weekly. My thoughts on SQM gapping down. It's not gapping down, it's just some random prints. This IIVI had a great EP 2 earnings seasons ago where it doubled after the earnings. And now it's pretty much back where it was back then. Almost a round trip. What I think about Twilio, still holding the uptrend, but these high multiple software internet names, that's not really the place to be. Hasn't been the place to be for a few months now. HIMX looks good. Man, it's so thin. Too bad this RHE is gapping down. Would have been nice if it retested the low mid 20s. This FCX had a nice breakout yesterday. LQDT, yeah, it's a good looking one. Did they have earnings? Or did they have earnings after the close? They had earnings, good earnings. Second quarter of great earnings. But yeah, in every earnings season, like, it doesn't really matter what the market does. In the micro and small cap space, there's always a few big movers. There's always a few good EPs. Because the tiny stocks, they're not necessarily as dependent on the overall market. Guys, remember when we bought the EP here? Or actually the day after earnings, it wasn't an EP. And it doubled in a went up 80% in 2 sessions. Those things, they don't really happen anymore. Except for these random micro caps that are getting pumped. Those are good times. What's Dogecoin doing? Dogecoin, let's see. Oh, it's still holding up. Still 80 billion market cap. Wait, did it hit 96 billion market cap? Wow. Now imagine if all the money flowing into these coins, like Dogecoin, imagine if it went to the market instead. Man, we would be printing money right now. Yeah, wonder who's the guy or girl who owns the big Doge wallet. That's like worth 30 billion. It's insane. One of the richest people in the world. Woof. Yeah, maybe a few more days. Yeah, it's kind of lagging here. If the 10 and 20 can get the tighter, then 1 or 2 more days would be actually a pretty good setup. Very thin stock, but looks good. These types of stocks like FCX, like this is a leading stock right now, but you know, the problem oftentimes with these commodity related names, they're very mean reverting. Like they go up a little bit and they pull back, go up a little bit and they pull back. These things tend to not make big moves after a breakout. Stuff, look at like US Steel, another leading stock. There's just very hard to trade. It's not like something like Tesla last year, right? It breaks a base, goes up, you know, 90% in a month, right? And this is a mega cap stock. It's not a small cap. Right here, it broke a base, went up 63% in a few weeks. It broke a flag here, went up 72%. Like, these commodity names, they're not giving us moves like that. They're much trickier to trade. Ethereum, yeah, I mean, it's... I don't know why I sold my ETHE. I don't know why I sold it. This thing is now up almost 70% from where I sold it. I still don't remember the logic. I sold it right here. High 20s. Or like 21 area. What a fucking moron. And I bought it when it broke this range here, like 18-ish. Man, I would be sitting almost on a double right now. It wasn't a huge position, but still, you know. So annoying. When you break your sell rules, this happened to me all the time last year. You sell something because it, I don't know, for whatever reason, and then it goes up another 50-100%. Happened to DQ, happened on NVAX. Oh, BNTX was actually a mean reversion setup on the long side today. Opening range highs. I hope it keeps selling off. I hope this bounce fails and gets to the 50-day by tomorrow and then get a big bounce. That would be nice. NUE, yeah, NUE is a nice looking one. This didn't hit my scans because my scan cutoff was 3.5 and this stock has ADR of 3 and it was even lower here. But now my scan cutoff is 2.5. It should be picking these things up. But yeah, here on this day, this was a pretty decent setup. It had this failed breakdown attempt below the rising 20-day and then it reclaimed and went back into the base. But again, these things are they're not very liquid. They're not really super liquid. Yeah, I don't like this. This KRE, I did a tiny move. I don't even know why I did it. It kind of wasn't a good setup. It had a good setup here. You know what? I'm gonna correct this mistake. I have like a third or quarter size, so it's not actually less than that. ETCG. Oh yeah, it's starting to get more volume too. Hopefully it can really speed up. I'm gonna start watching it starting tomorrow. Hopefully it goes to like 100 plus today and then has a big gap up tomorrow. That would be an ideal scenario. This Bitcoin is flagging. It's been lagging the past month versus the other coins like Ethereum and Doge and Cumrocket. But it is flagging really nicely here. It tried to break down below the 50-day but reclaimed and now it's staying above the 50-day. Let's look at the weekly. I mean, it's a beautiful flag. It's building higher lows. It's surfing the purple line, the 10 weekly. It's a beautiful flag. Once this thing goes, I really think Bitcoin's gonna go to like 100,000 or something if it breaks out of this flag. Oh, TNA, my best trade idea. Breaking down. Still holding a higher low, but not looking great. I'm gonna try it with this SPXL short again. I just don't see a lot of good action. Even a lot of the metal stocks and bank stocks are feeling tired. Something has to give. I don't have as much size on SPXL as I had 2 days ago. I had like 200,000 shares. Now I have 150,000. It's a little bit less size this time around. You know, it tried to break down, failed the breakdown, tried to reclaim the 10-day, failed there, and now it's losing the 20-day again. And I just, the action beneath the surface, it just sucks. So I don't, we'll see. Maybe I'll short Tesla too, because it's now the 50-day, it's surfing below the 50-day now. The 50-day is acting as a resistance. Tried to reclaim, but, failed back below the 50-day. Yeah, this year maybe sell in May is gonna work. Most years it doesn't work. But you could use any month. You could use sell in February, sell in March, sell in December. There's always, any month could be down at any time. But it's still a useless saying. I mean, some of the 5-star setups worked really well, like AMAT, LRCX. I sold them for a profit, even though it didn't go up as much as I would have wanted them to, but those were pretty much some of the very few 5-star ones. I also had TQQ long. This one I had a big position, it worked really well. I sold it when it lost a 20-day, also for a profit. But again, I was hoping, that I would break out of this flag and go higher, but did not. Oh, TNA. Okay, this trade idea is gone for now. So just GBTC. Of course you watch the stock in after hours and pre-market. If you don't, you're eventually gonna blow up. If you do parabolic shorting, you always watch the after hours and pre-market action. And you better be there early. Otherwise, you're just gonna be another statistic, because most people are not willing to do that. You come to the market 15 minutes before it opens and they're pulling up their favorite alert service to tell them what to do. You actually have to put some effort in yourself. Rank breaks out. Breaks out from what? I mean, it's just a random looking stock. Wait, is HEQ, this is a silver ETF, right? It's not a triple silver ETF, not a silver minor ETF. Yeah, it is. Okay, okay, good. Because this gold has also these gold minor ETFs. UGL, gold lip. Oh, this is the one. Okay. Still, oh yeah, it's... Wait, is this the leverage? This is not the leverage. It's ADR 1.4. Oh, it is the leverage. It's double, right? I didn't realize GLD had that low ADR. That's an insanely low ADR. Wow. And the leveraged one has 1.4. There should be like a, I don't know, quintuple or something like that. Levered ADR for GLD. Yeah, the 150-day has been support for the past 2 attempts. And NIO, the 200-day has been support for a while, and now it's testing it again. A lot of these former leaders are breaking their 150, 200-day moving averages lately. It's been going on for a couple of weeks now. One by one, they're kind of breaking down. And it's really the opposite you want to see. You want to see things kind of breaking out one by one. It's kind of the opposite of what you want to see. Yeah, but these things are pumps. This is a pump, you know. This micro, this is a nano cap pump. Like, these things don't give a shit what the market does, because you don't need a lot of buying power to move something like this. Like, if I wanted to, like, I could push this thing. Like, I could start buying it here. I could push it to 20 myself if I wanted to. Like, you really need, if you're a pumper, you really need a few hundred people buying it, or maybe not a few hundred, but a few thousand people buys into this thing, and you know, it doubles, triples. It's very easy to move these things. How do you tell? Well, usually, you know, you can just go on Twitter and, you know, search for this symbol, and you will see a lot of people pumping it. And also a lot of bots probably pumping this thing. Now, I don't know if this specifically is a pump or if there is actually legit news, but it's probably a pump. Yeah, maybe I should have shorted TNA. Someone asked me why I shorted the SPY triple ETF or double ETF instead of the IWM, because IWM has been weaker, but it doesn't really matter. Look, the thing is, like, you know, if we're gonna have a market correction, all of them are eventually gonna pull back. So I don't think it really matters. RQDT. Oh, wow. Yeah, and those of you who were on top of it, you're printing money. This is what happens when you have good earnings and a good chart. And look, this thing could be 30 by next week. So those of you who have small accounts, and you know, you can trade those micro and small caps, like there's so many opportunities. Like, for you guys, there's so many more money-making opportunities than for someone like me that I'm forced to trade these large and mega cap stocks and the liquid ETFs. I just don't have the same opportunity set as you guys have. Like something at BGFV yesterday. Great earnings. Big volume. Look at the volume. Look at this CP down here. Look at the move it sparked. Look at the volume here. It traded like, what, 50, 100 times average daily volume? Now, obviously, it did sell off initially, but this day was the start of a big move. It's up like 750% since. You know, like if you study EP, you know, if you just study EP and follow stocks that have EP'd like recently, in the past 6 months or so, you know, there's an edge in trading those things. I'm living a tough life. It's called the big account challenge. There is no such thing as a small account challenge. Because I'm gonna tell you a secret, guys. It's not about account size. It's about you. Yeah, that's true. EPs are easier when they gap up. That's true. LQDT didn't. But, you know, if you have some, you know, service or some way to find these big EPS, big revenue growth stocks, you would have found it in pre-market. Or even after hours. I'm not sure when they reported. Yeah, they reported in pre-market. And you would have seen, wow, this thing has a great chart. They just had great earnings. And you would have had, you could have had this thing on watch anyways. Because the thing is, many times with the nano and micro caps, they may not have any action pre-market or after hours. Because, there's just such small stocks. No one, there's no market for it in extended hours. So you can't rely on, I rely on these gapper scanners. And I also have a service where I find the at least the larger cap earnings. But I don't know if there is any good service for small and micro cap ones. There used to be IBD, was pretty good when it came out every day. Now it's just, they have one issue per week or something. It's not the same thing anymore. Flowers is an EP. Yeah, it had an EP here. Was it on earnings? I'm not sure. Yeah. Whatever method you decide to trade, you need to have a process and you have to focus. You can't deviate. I have 3 main setups that I use and I have processes to find them. Now, sometimes I fuck up, like I did on BNTX a few days ago. That was a really good setup. I just dropped the ball, and you're gonna drop the ball all the time. And it's fine. You will still have great returns. You don't need to catch everything. There's so much opportunity in the United States stock markets, guys. It's just insane. There's so many stocks. Exactly. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to get the big things right. And you don't need to catch everything. It's okay to mess up 5-star opportunities. It's okay to miss 5-star opportunities. As long as you don't get into the habit of doing it too often. Yeah, I know. I know. BNTX, it was on my watch list. I had it on my watch list. I was even looking at it up here. Well, it was still green on the day, 2 days ago. Before it broke down, before it went red, took out opening range lows. I was looking at it. I'm like, maybe if it pops a bit. I just totally dropped the ball on it. You could have risked $3-4 to make $60-70 on it on the short side. That's a great risk reward and a high probability setup. It was day 3. I don't really count this day, was pretty much sideways day. So, it had a big run, or it had a run, flagged, had a big run, flagged. And this is the 3rd day of the 3rd run, the 3rd leg higher. It's a very high probability setup, but yeah. ANF, it looks okay. I mean, it looks fine. It looks pretty decent. What do I expect compounding at with a big account? I would love the compound at, well, this year already I'm up almost 100%. I was up 130 or something at one point. No, 120, and now I'm up maybe 100 or a bit less. So, I'm already, I'm already doing really well for this year, even though the past 2 months have been kind of shitty. And I've given back some from the highs. But if I can keep compounding for 50% per year for the next few years, that would be great. There's enough opportunity every year to make it happen. There's just an insane amount of opportunities. You just need to identify them and have a process finding them. Well, for a few more years, yeah. But it's gonna get harder and harder. It is, because I'm more dependent on what the indices are doing, since I'm forced to trade the ETFs and large and mega cap stocks that are more market sensitive versus small and micro caps that many times live a life of their own. So you can more consistent. So with a smaller account, you can make money more consistently. Not only in day trading, but also in swing trading than with a, big account. But yeah, I have no doubt I will hit the billion mark. I have no doubt. I have the methods in place. What I need to do is increase my time frames. I'm gonna have a you know, less consistent returns than I had previously. But it's all about, you know, catching the big runs. There's usually a couple of big runs per year when you have easy money. It's just waiting for those times and doing nothing in the meantime, or doing very little. EP works the best on microcaps. It doesn't really matter if it's a pump or not. Many times the pump stocks are the ones that make the biggest moves. But obviously it's kind of hard to get conviction in some random stock that some room is pumping. Like, it's much easier if there's like some type of a news and it's a hot sector. Like we had mask and COVID stocks last year, like stuff like APT, Lake. When you have news and a theme, like every year you have this theme in microcaps, and there will be a bunch of rooms pumping the same stocks, and they also have, you know, fundamental reason for the stock to actually go up. Well, I'm already living in a place where there's pretty much 0% capital gains taxes. Depends on what broker you use. The only reason I'm using US brokers is to be able to short these like hard to borrow stocks, like stuff like PRPO and BTX yesterday. But I'm trying out a new broker here in Sweden where you can actually short a lot of the large caps and mid caps with them. So, well, yeah, it matters if I'm using an American broker or a Swedish broker. If I use a Swedish broker, I don't pretty much have to pay any capital gains taxes. The only reason I'm paying capital gains taxes is because I have US brokers. But it's a trade-off I have to make, because I can use leverage and I can short a lot of the stocks I wouldn't be able to. And it's also lower commissions. I'm telling you, Sweden is like one of the best tax havens out there. If you use the correct account type, there's pretty much no capital gains tax. There's no inheritance tax. There's no real estate tax. Why would people panic if the Nasdaq gaps down tomorrow? You could gap down below the 200 day and reclaim and go up all day. Why would there be panic? It does look a bit scary on the weekly though. Because if you look at Nasdaq, it's been surfing the 20 weekly. It's been finding support there like once, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. And now it's testing that again. If it doesn't hold, man, next support is 10%, 11% lower. Well, I mean, this is how the markets work. Like nothing goes up forever. And unfortunately, this is where most people find out about Cathie Wood, right? They buy into it. And then, you get a big washout. And then people panic sell. It's the same history. Like, if you study market history, in 2007, it was the Janus funds. I think it was the Janus funds. Or was it in the late 90s? I don't remember. But the best performing funds, like, most people get in near the top when the move has already been made. So you can have a great performing fund, and then you look at the average investor in the fund and they're down because they bought near the top. That's how the world works. It's the same thing over and over again. And it's no different with Tesla. It's no different with ARK. Most people got in. I mean, if you look at Tesla, I don't think there's a lot of people, except for, some funds and etc. that are in from here, right? Most people bought it, right, 500 plus, believing the stock will go up for an eternity, but it's not. It's priced for perfect execution for the next 10 years. Same thing with Microsoft, for example, in the 90s. It went up for a decade, made an enormous move. And it's not like the company sucked during this time frame. They tripled their revenues during this time frame. But it just took this long for it to grow into the valuation. And there's example after example of this. Tesla could be doing great, but the stock may not have to go anywhere for the next 10, 15 years. And that's why I prefer trading and having actual buy and sell rules. Oh, Janus was late 90s, yeah. What was the fund that became so famous during 2007, 2008? There was this, I think they invested in like emerging markets and commodities, which were, you know, they did great. Like emerging markets and commodities did great between the 2003, 2007 bull market. What was the name of the fund? I have it somewhere in my Evernote. It was one of the best performing funds between the 2003 to 2007, 2008 period. But the average investor, like when the fund was down 20% from the highs in 2008, most of the investors in the fund were underwater, even though the fund was up like thousands of percent in 4 or 5 years. Well, there's always cult stocks. You know, you have to separate the product and the CEO from the stock and the company. Great companies can do can do well, and the stock can suck for many years. And shitty companies can do really well, like their stocks can do really well. And people have such a hard time understanding it. Like I see, things like, oh, company X had XYZ had great earnings, but it's down on the day. What's going on? The market is broken. Like it's not that straightforward. The markets are very, very tricky.